And now, coming to you straight from the 505's most news-biting source of political commentainment, it's the New Mexico Inquisition with Danger Cavaros.
All right. This is exciting. Welcome back to the New Mexico Inquisition. I am Danger Cavaros, of course. We got a great show for you tonight. We have Secretary of State Maggie Toulouse Oliver on the show tonight. That's right. We'll also be joined on the panel by comedian Kendra Jean Brand. That's right. And a great friend of mine, a show's producer, New Mexico Inquisition political analyst, the amazing Stephanie W. Tejas. That's right. So let's talk about the news a little bit. What's going on? Plans are underway currently to convert a decommissioned Boeing 747 into what's being called a interactive experience for families, children, adults, everyone. It's going to be very awesome. Good news for anybody who enjoys being crammed into a tight place to interact with the smells of strangers. Yeah. Fun fact, it's actually going to be just as efficient at trapping you in with the sound of a crying baby as a fully operational passenger jet. What else is going on? New Mexico Attorney General and very handsome pit bull look-alike, Hector Balderas, has officially endorsed in the Democratic primary Xochitl Torres Small for the 2nd Congressional District of New Mexico. Yeah! Yeah, we got some Xochitl fans in the house. That's great. We wanted to find out a little bit more about her, so we checked out her website. And where her platform details should be, we saw kind of a touchy-feely sort of prose about her experience as a New Mexican. Nothing about her campaign. But we did read this interesting excerpt here. It says, "Your stories and ideas will form the core of our campaign." So basically, this is southern New Mexico, so her campaign is going to consist of chupacabras and putting cream of mushroom soup in her green chili stew. Anxiously awaiting the details of your campaign, Xochitl. Okay. Albuquerque Mayor Tim Keller is taking on Amazon in a New York Times article. He says they should be paying taxes to the city. While they do pay taxes to the state, they don't pay any tax to the city, and he thinks that they should help be paying for things like public services and be making things a little more competitive with local businesses. But we have our own idea at the New Mexico Inquisition. It's called Albuquerque Prime, right? Get this. So all your packages are delivered by the Albuquerque Police Department, which means they never show up. That's right. There's also a streaming service that airs nothing but episodes of Breaking Bad and episodes of Cops that were filmed here in Albuquerque. The Bernalillo County Sheriff's deputies have apprehended a man carrying 10 pounds of methamphetamine. What? Oh my gosh, yeah. They were operating off of a tip from detectives, and they apprehended Jose Peña Bojorquez. That's an awesome name, Bojorquez. Who had 10 pounds of liquid methamphetamine strapped to his body. That's right. When they approached him, he attempted to flee on foot. Yeah, that's right. But they caught him, of course, because, even though he was getting great exercise with 10 pounds of drugs strapped to him, he didn't quite get away. And I can see why he thought he would get away, because he did have 10 pounds of the world's greatest energy drink on his person. Speaking of the Bernco Sheriff's Department, Sheriff Manuel Gonzalez says that he and the attorney of the county have selected Robles, Rael, and Anaya to review the department's use of force policies. Now, the law firm has also represented several police officers in some impropriety lawsuits about their behavior on the job, which is interesting. Robles, Rael, and Anaya have recommended that we at the New Mexico Inquisition stop writing so many jokes about police. but we're not going to listen. Oh no, it turns out some of these police oversight recommendations might not be super effective. The New Mexico Environmental Department is investigating Los Alamos National Labs after 2 containers of hazardous materials have turned up missing. That's right. And if you're surprised that a town full of geniuses totally pulled a Homer Simpson, you've never been to my hometown, Los Alamos, New Mexico. And since I'm totally from there, I can do this. I'm from Los Alamos, New Mexico. Okay. Here's a story that fell off the back of the crazy train. The city of Albuquerque has just named Ozzy Osbourne as an honorary member of the Chamber of Commerce down there. That's right. They figured that nobody would be paying attention to this silliness. I mean, because come on, it's Alamogordo. But we were paying attention because come on, it's Ozzy. Yeah! We're riding off the rails at a space museum. Hey, have you guys seen $1 million and $200,000 worth of fiber optic cable laying around? Anyone? Because it turns out this has gone missing from a project in northern New Mexico. It was released in a recent audit by the state. The state auditor spokesperson, Enrique Nell, said that the missing funds, and I quote, doesn't necessarily mean it went into somebody's personal pocket, which if I've learned anything from watching movies and TV, it's definitely in somebody's personal pocket. This is New Mexico. Somebody's sitting on all that fiber optic cable in their garage trying to figure out how to sell it right now. We got a great show for you tonight. Stick around for more jokes. Okay. Thank you. I accept your applause. Welcome back to the New Mexico Inquisition. I'm your host, Danger K. Varoz. With me on the panel this week is our show's producer, very awesome lady, my friend Stephanie W. Tejas on the show. Say hello, everybody.
Hey, everyone. How's it going?
Doing all right? You over there engaging your core for the cameras?
I'm engaging my core. Yeah,
great.
sitting up straight, working on my posture.
Also on the show, I'm very excited to have the Secretary of State of New Mexico, Maggie Toulouse, all over to my left. Say hello.
Hi.
This is fun, right? We're having fun.
I'm having fun.
I'm having fun.
Great.
Okay, good. Also having fun is comedian Kendra Jean Brand on the panel. Say hello.
Hi. Oh, yes. Oh, thank you. Oh, no, that's enough. Please stop, please.
I like the blazer. Is that what that's called?
Yeah, it's called a blazer.
That's
You're
dope.
wearing a blazer.
They
I
make
see why I
them.
had you on the show.
They make them for men and women now.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You know, like, yeah.
It's
that's great.
amazing, like, going from 2 consecutive episodes with all male panels to finally an episode with 3 women. And then
3 women.
3.5 women.
And, you know, I want to address some of our viewers. I'm so sorry we had so many dudes on the show in a row. It was an accident. But I want to assure you that for the next month solid, for the next 4 episodes in a row, we will have nothing but female powerhouses in politics in New Mexico on the show. That's right. Also, I believe next month we have an all-female panel. I'm not even going to be here. It's just going to be nothing but broads.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
the real brain trust. So stuff will actually get done. People will.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Now,
Engage.
now you two know each other from Dinner Detective. Is
That is
right?
true.
That's correct.
You perform a lot together.
Yeah,
You have witty banter.
we do.
Yeah.
Don't expect it for this episode.
No. We save that.
That's for us.
It's like
Yeah, it's like a friendship thing.
This is great.
I don't know the rules, but I clearly have a lot of witty banter going on here tonight. So. Am I supposed to be talking? Anyway.
So, sure.
Isn't that the question that women always have? Am I supposed to be talking?
Good point.
How was your week, Maggie?
It was a crazy week. It was a long week.
What-
I'm glad that it's over.
Why? What happened?
Just a lot going on in my office. A lot of election stuff, getting ready for the primary election, and we were in court a few times this week, which is always fun because court.
What is fun? Can you tell us about that? What type of?
Yeah, what did you do?
Give us a day in the life of
So
the
fortunately,
Secretary of
I didn't
State.
personally have to be in court. I have folks that work on my staff that had to, unfortunately for them. But no, we, as we get ready for a primary election, there's often a lot of questions about whether folks are qualified to be running for office, and so they get challenged in court. We had a filing day a couple of weeks ago for state representatives and other districted offices around the state, so people are saying, oh, no, that person's not actually qualified, or they didn't collect enough signatures that the law requires. So if they file with our office, as they often do, we have to be a party in court when that happens. So it's actually kind of mundane, but it's kind of a serious thing. It really has to do with who ends up on the ballot at the end of the day. So there was a lot of that going on.
So you weren't filing a restraining order against somebody who was chasing you around with a camera phone?
I was not
Okay.
this week.
Who
May or
knows
may
what
not have
happened
happened in the
next
past.
I got my eye on you.
We mentioned we spoke with Dr. Peter DeBenedictis a couple of weeks ago on the show. He spoke very highly of you. He seemed to think that you were totally the bee's knees.
Oh, he's a great guy.
One of our panelists asked, he said that he was still technically on the ballot and that it was in your ballpark to remove him from the ballot when the right time came.
So that has happened.
That has happened.
That has happened.
Yeah, our panelist, he's kind of like a radical progressive, and he was like, well, maybe she's going to leave him on because the establishment, and Dr. P was like, hey, hold on a minute. Maggie Toulouse is one of the finest human beings that I've ever met in my entire life. So,
Well, that's just sweet. There's nothing funny about that.
Yep.
He's
I
just
find
a
that-
sweet man.
I find that everything I hear about you, whether it be from Pete D or someone like Stephanie, has always been like really nice and in high regard. So I'm really here to find the dirt.
There probably is some.
well, you're going to...
I'm not universally beloved, but
The
thank
only
you.
dirt you're gonna find about Maggie is gonna be under her fingernail, maybe, because she was tending her garden.
And that's why she has them painted to hide that nasty
I thought
dirt.
you were going to out me about our mutual Harry Potter fascination.
That too.
And if you're going to want to get some dirt, you're going to have to get through me because I've known her for 20 minutes and I like her already.
See, they tried to do a roast of me once at Tractor Brewery, and it was like this. It was like, oh, Maggie's just so sweet. Like, please try to make fun of me. That would be fun.
Well, I
doesn't work very well.
do have something to ask. It's been brought to my attention that you may be a part of like a conspiracy cult.
No, but I am obsessed with that Wild Wild Country documentary on
It's
Netflix.
interesting that you brought up a 3-word documentary because the cult is women named Maggie in local politics have to have 3 names. So
Yes.
we have Maggie Hart Stebbins.
Yes.
Our county commission, she's on the county board. So what's going on with that?
I've just been married and divorced a bunch. I don't know what to tell you.
And do you have to be named Maggie to get into that cult? Because I'm Kendra Jean Brand, and I feel like I could be a good candidate.
I feel like there are a lot of women these days that are using a lot of names and in politics and just professionally.
Okay.
So I think you could probably just get right on in,
Can we
even
be,
with a K name.
Can we be BFFs? Another triple.
Yeah.
Three.
So it's interesting you brought up the...
Power of 3.
It's interesting that you brought up the blood cult of Maggie because I've consulted some ancient texts, and I have an excerpt right here. And it reads, after the first 2 Maggies, when the 3rd Maggie comes into power, the skies will blacken. And your ballots will turn to blood. But I could be reading this wrong.
Those are paper ballots?
They're electronic ballots. Paper ballots are safe.
Okay.
Well, we don't have those here, so we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
It's
All
not
right,
in this
fine.
state anyway.
Well, now that we know we're all good, we're going to take a quick commercial break to relax, and we'll be right back after these messages with Secretary of State Maggie Toulouse Oliver. Thank you. All right, we're getting. Woo! Yeah! All right. All right, we're back on the show, back on the New Mexico Inquisition with Maggie Toulouse Oliver. Thanks for coming on again. One more time.
Thanks for having me.
So we had a lot of fun, bantering, and silliness in the second segment of the show, but the third segment is all about the real issues. And that's why we have a New Mexico Inquisition political analyst who's come to grill you. And we're going to get to the bottom of this. So I believe you have some questions.
Not really a grill. I mean, like a light saute with some coconut oil.
It's gonna
Like an unrelenting
Q&A.
saute.
Yeah. So I do have a couple questions. I particularly am curious about the Russian meddling. So it's not like this was some work of like moose and squirrel. This is some Boris and Natasha stuff going on, right?
Yes.
Like, what can you tell us about the Russian meddling? Serious.
I think the analogy, we're just going to chuckle at it for the rest of the night.
Can we just sit here and say?
So I think I think that what's interesting is that we already really know a lot about what actually happened in the 2016 election. It's out there in the news media. I actually received a classified briefing in D.C. About a month and a half ago, and the thing that was interesting to me about it is that it basically kind of maybe connected some dots of things that are already out there that we already know about. So we do know that, of course, Russia tried to, penetrate some voter registration systems. They actually successfully penetrated the voter registration system in Arizona.
Penetrate.
I know. These are the technical terms. We have to use them. And they tried to in some other states, but thankfully, what we learned from that, and it took a long time for us to get information from the federal government, but what we learned is that our election security around the country is actually pretty good. But we also learned that there's places we need to improve. So we're collectively working on that. And then the other piece of the puzzle, of course, is just the fact that we've got this, major social media campaign being waged by these Russian bots, and these totally fake profiles that are promoting fake opinion pieces and fake news pieces around the country, pretending to be real people. Often we unknowingly are clicking on them, we're liking them, we're reposting them, we're retweeting them. And that's, I think, the bigger problem, because the point is to really try to sow discord among us as Americans, even if we disagree ideologically. And that's really their ultimate goal, is to weaken us as a nation, and we have to really fight back against that.
So what does our election infrastructure here in New Mexico look like to help us protect and safeguard against that type of penetration? So what's our chastity belt, if you will?
Good question. So we're actually doing really great here in New Mexico in terms of election security. The Center for American Progress just issued a report card for every state around the country. They gave us a B, but actually that was the highest grade of any state. 11 states received a B, everyone else received lower grades. We got a good grade because we do two things in particular. We have all paper ballot system here in New Mexico. So at the end of the day, none of our votes are being exclusively recorded by an electronic tabulating machine. And then we also do post-election audits. So we actually go back and make sure those electronic voting machines counted the ballots the way they were cast. And we do that automatically every election. We've done that since 2008. So we're way ahead of the curve compared to most of the country. We also have really good network security in place. We've done a lot of testing on that. And we've just learned that we're receiving a huge grant from the federal government to secure it even more, not just at the state level, but at the county level, because our elections are really run at the county level here in New Mexico, and that's where we need to devote a lot of that attention, probably more than at the state level. So we're in really good shape, heading towards even better shape in anticipation of the 2018 general election.
It's cool getting federal grants. We have a federal grant coming for the rapid transit too, right?
Well, I know we're all crossing our fingers for that, but literally our election grant just passed in the budget bill this last week.
Nice.
And was actually signed by the president, which was shocking. It was so shocking to me, in fact, that we weren't even prepared for it. We didn't believe it was happening, so we didn't even have a plan in place. So we're kind of scrambling to put that plan in place. It's not like we don't have places we can spend the money.
Right.
Was it just shocking that like Trump knows how to hold a pen?
It was shocking that, to me, quite honestly, that Congress got its act together to pass a budget bill and that the president actually signed it. It was kind of miraculous. So it's really great. So we're going to make the best use of it.
So speaking of legislation, I recently read about a piece of legislation called the Disclosure Act. And it's my understanding that essentially it aims to end like secret spending by dark money groups, which are often conduits of foreign spending. So hypothetically, for example, I don't know, maybe there's like a foreign country, fictional name, Russia, that wants to influence another country's election.
Like Primerica?
That's what I was going to say.
Like Primerica, right? Primerica, it's a good one. Under this administration, how likely is it that a bill like the Disclosure Act could get signed? And if not on that federal level, is that something we can do here statewide?
So, good question. Going back to the Citizens United Supreme Court decision about 7 years ago, the one piece that was really upheld when a lot of really good, important campaign finance legislation was otherwise struck down was this notion of disclosure. Even Justice Scalia said, the citizens of this country are entitled to know who is spending money in their elections. So even though the federal government has really failed to act on this point, and to your question, I don't think they will in the near future, states around the country have started to act. And in fact, here in New Mexico this last summer, I and my staff, our administration passed a new campaign finance rule that requires disclosure of any dark money independent expenditure campaigns in New Mexico. So anytime money is being spent to advocate for or against a candidate, that has to be reported to our office, not only what's being spent, but where that money came from in increments of $250 or more. So I'm really proud of that. And it is something that we as citizens deserve to know here in New Mexico.
I agree. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you. Thank you for doing that. Appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely.
What sets you down your path of public service is what I'm really interested in.
I get asked that question a lot, and it's funny because as you guys know, I was county clerk here in Bernalillo County for 10 years, and it's not like I dreamed of being a county clerk one day when I was a child growing up, right? I wanted to be an astronaut. Totally different career path. So I think that I was just raised in a family that was very civically engaged, civically aware. We always talked about the issues. We watched the news together. We watched the presidential debates and the conventions. And so I was really raised in an environment where I was taught, I was brought to the voting booth with my mom for the first time when I was 4 years old. So I was taught how important our democracy is, how important our government is. So right out of high school, I started working on political campaigns. I just felt, I think I was just hardwired for it, and I just always felt a desire for it. That work, especially registering voters, educating and mobilizing voters, which I did for a long time before I became county clerk, kind of sent me down that path. And when the opportunity to run elections came along, I threw my hat in the ring and found out I love it. And this is truly my passion, is making sure that every eligible voter has an opportunity to make their voice heard at the polls.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we're just about out of time. Either of you have anything to add before we sign off there?
Check out Hour Now at facebook.com/Hour Now. Peter D. Benedictus is going to be the good old doctor. He's going to be on it. It's
That's your game show.
April 28th. It's a game show.
It's a fun game
Dr.
show.
Pete's going to be
amazing.
on the game show.
Dr. Pete is going to be on the game show April 28th. Check it out. Facebook.com/Hour Now.
That's a lot of
Super
fun.
fun.
You know, you get in free if you.
Sweet.
No, it's $5.
I will pay the $5.
For anyone out there who's getting out of high school, who's getting out of college, who wants to engage in public service, and they also live inside that camera, what would you tell them right there?
So the beauty about living here in New Mexico and growing up here is that opportunity is really only a Facebook message, a phone call, an email away. If folks want to get involved, Reach out, go to a website, find a campaign or a candidate that you're interested in helping. Reach out, send a message. They would love to have you. If you want to work in government, same thing. It's really easy here because unfortunately, not a lot of young people do want to be involved, and we need more young people involved to be able to continue our democracy, our amazing tradition of citizen-run government down the line. So all you have to do is reach out and send a message. It's that easy.
Reach out. You hear that, New Mexico?
Reach out
and
touch
face.
Is it touch face?
Touch face?
I thought it was fate.
I don't know. Touch the like button, touch the share button. Help us out. We're the New Mexico Inquisition. Thanks a lot to our guests, Kendra Jean Brand, Stephanie Tejas, and of course, Maggie Toulouse Oliver. Thanks again for coming on the show. We appreciate it. All right. Good night. Thanks a lot.